Benvenuti, amici miei. Welcome back, my dearest friends. My name is Stefano, and today I want to show you a game that is really dear to me. What you are seeing right now is the launcher for Dwarf Fortress version 0.47.03, which is one of the latest. We had a release of version 0.47 maybe 1 or 2 months ago. Dwarf Fortress is a hidden gem. Dwarf Fortress is one of the few games that can really stress your CPU while having absolutely no graphics. Is in a sense the polar opposite of what mainstream video games are right now. While right now the war is on the graphics and on graphic cards, this game manages to burn your PC by sheer depth of the simulation. Again, while having almost no graphics. If ever you want to try this crazy thing called Dwarf Fortress, which by the way has one of the steepest learning curves ever, I recommend you download this thing here, the LNP or Lazy Newb pack, because it really makes your experience so much better. It lets you access all the configuration in an easy UI, lets you install a graphic tile set, while by default the game would be ASCII graphics. Lets you, I don't know, for example, lets you set up like auto saves and stuff like that and back up the saves. So absolutely get the Lazy Newb pack. This one is for version, again, 0.47. If you are seeing this in the future, there's probably a higher version than this. But just Google Dwarf Fortress LNP or Lazy Newb pack. But without further ado, let's start the game. And here we are. By the amazing intro video, you might have guessed that this game really, at its core, is about dwarves carving a fortress out of the side of a mountain and eventually digging too deep and too greedily and finding their fun. Because the motto of this game is losing is fun. The world in this game is procedurally generated, so to start, you see that there is no start playing, but there is the option to create a new world. And this is what we are gonna do. We have a little bit of a configuration that we can do right now for the world. There is also a much longer page of configuration of options that you get if you instead choose the option of design a world with advanced parameters. So yeah, this is the simple one. We will create a small world. I do not recommend creating a large world unless you have a really beefy PC. And I'm talking about RAM, disk access, and CPU. Graphics card not used in this game. Medium is okay, but it takes a little bit of time, so let's just do small for the sake of convenience. Then how much time will the history go on for, because this will not just create the geography but also the history of entire civilizations. Number of civilization, number of sites, default is good for everything. I wanna just change the mineral occurrence to be frequent, just because it's more fun to have more metals and minerals around to dig. Now the engine will start testing various geographic configurations. It seems like the first one was accepted, and it's now placing civilizations on the map, and they are currently living through the years. We are now at the year 85 of the Age of Myth. While this is going on, cities and fortresses are appearing, roads are being constructed, and wars are being waged around the map. Historical figures are being made and destroyed. And all of this is being generated and recorded in the legends for this world. All legends that we will then be able to access and discover during the game. I can already see there's a big patch of evil in here, marked by this purple color. These are goblin fortresses. Also this one, probably. Then we have not a lot of dwarves, actually. There is a presence of dwarves in here, in here, in here. Then there are elves in here. Is this connected? Yes, it is connected. We are now at the year 185. This, the symbol made of 3 lines are signify human settlements, although I'm seeing everything change in purple color. This might be one of those instances when we are actually losing the game before it even starts. Evil is taking over while we watch. This is very interesting. This doesn't happen very often. But I heard that in the latest version, actually, because the latest version was focused on fleshing out more the evil mastermind arcs that develop during world generation, this can happen more often because they now have a lot more tools to do their evil doings, their evil deeds. So let's accept this. Let's accept this world. And let's try and create a dwarf fortress in this largely goblin-infested, evil-dominated fantasy continent. Alright, now that the world is created, we can start playing. You can play 3 different modes. I'm gonna play Dwarf Fortress now, but you can also play as an adventurer or a band of adventurers. With the latest change now, you can create a party. You can even choose mounts for your party. And then there is Legends mode. Legends mode is just a browser. It's a browser of all the events and all the historical figures that have been generated for this region called Thethorid. Thethorid, or something like that. Read it as you like. Let's start a game of Dwarf Fortress then. Okay, this is the embark screen. In here we have the world map, the region map. Being this a small world, region and world are the same. If this was a larger world, this will be a zoomed out version of the world. And then we have the local map. in which we will choose the exact site location for the fortress. Now let's take a look around. Using tab, I can go to the civilization choice screen. Now in blue, here in the world map, will be highlighted, let me move the cursor first, will be highlighted the remaining dwarven civilizations. There is the willful, polished tongs, which is a civilization made of 1, 2, and 3 settlements. And then the trumpet of lobsters, which... Okay, this is interesting. Now, as far as I remember, this, like O symbols, this should be caves. So these dwarven civilizations actually conquered caves, which by default should be lairs of beasts. And then they settled, okay, there is a normal fortress, a normal dwarven fortress, which is the omega symbol. And then they conquered a couple of towers. Towers are usually goblin fortresses. So it might be that the trumpet of lobsters, it could be that they conquered, but it could also be that they were conquered and that some other evil civilization, after conquering the entire dwarven kingdom of the trumpet of lobsters, put like a puppet king on the throne, and so like that the evil kingdom and the dwarven kingdom were like united. That's very interesting. Actually, let's do this. Let's start a new dwarven fortress under the trumpet of lobsters, because I actually want to see what happens when the liaison, when the nobles come to visit. I want to see if like necromancers and goblins and trolls show up instead of your normal dwarven nobility. So let's keep this choice. Now we need to choose a site. To choose a site, we can use the finder. Now this tool we can configure to search for a site that is 4x4 tiles. Is the standard, should be sufficient for most fortresses. There's also people that play on a 3x3 map just because it's easier on your computer. We will ask the finder to search for flux stone. A flux stone layer ensures that we can work iron into steel. Then we want to avoid a heavy aquifer. So we don't want a heavy aquifer. An aquifer layer means a layer of soil that when you dig into it creates water, basically. There's a water table there. So as soon as you start digging into it, water starts to seep out of the walls. A light aquifer is a new thing and seems like it will be manageable, while a heavy aquifer will be the old thing where you have to like come up with some crazy strategy, like waiting for winter when the water freezes and then digging in the ice to be able to access the deeper layers. We will also ask to find a river to ensure that we will have water, and we also want multiple shallow metals and multiple deep metals if possible. Let's see how many places correspond to this criteria. Seems quite a few actually. All right, let's now browse this. Now there's quite a few green flashing spots. Let's try and go. I want to avoid the purple zones. However, if I cycle through this, it should say, okay, look, the neighbors, like if we settled in this spot, our neighbors would be dwarves, goblins, with which we are at, which could be hostile, not openly at war, humans, a tower, which means a necromancer tower, with which we would be at war, and then a castle. This is a new thing in this version. And I'm guessing a castle is a human thing, but was probably conquered by somebody. Right, so this would be a pretty difficult place. So let's try, like up here in the north. There's still quite a few goblin settlements, but it's probably gonna be easier for us to set up shop, like in here, for example, where we still have access to dwarves, humans, goblins, and a castle. No elves, though. I'm a little bit preoccupied by this. Are elves still around? Let me look around in the map. This should be elves settlements, but elves don't show up. So this yellow letters should be elven settlements, but they don't show up in the neighbors tab. There's so many towers. This version might actually be a little bit broken because there's so many evil towers around, and elves might not be a thing in this world. They might have succumbed to the evil. Now that I look at it, there's a nice little spot inside the mountains here. Can we settle in here? In here we will just have dwarves, humans, and goblins, and no evil towers. Okay, let's see. What do we have in this biomes? So if I were to choose this location here, I will have access to 3 different biomes. I can use F1, F2, and F3 to cycle through the biomes. Now, look at here. I press F1. This is the first biome of the plains. And this is a temperate savanna, warm in temperature, with sparse trees and a little bit of other vegetation. The surroundings are calm. Surroundings calm means what kind of wildlife is in here. If you get in a place that is sinister, you get monsters from time to time. Calm means there's just normal animals. If you get to a savage zone, for example, there might be a prevalence of hostile animals. So in this first biome, in the temperate savanna, we have a little bit of soil, a light aquifer, then shallow metals and deep metals, and a flagstone layers. So we will probably have everything we wanted just in this first biome. But let's cycle through. There is a second biome, which is the northern portion of the mountains, which has no soil because it's mountainous, a light aquifer, shallow metal, just one type of shallow metal, and deep metals, multiple. And then the third will probably be exactly the eastern side of the mountain, which is almost the same, but these also have multiple shallow metals. Okay, and there is a brook coming through this map called the Company of Binding, I want to say. And the mountain is the Scarlet Barb. Okay, the savanna is called the Rounded Prairie. The northern mountain is the Scarlet Barb and also Scarlet Barb. So yeah, we're gonna settle the Scarlet Barb. Well, actually, the feet of this mountain, the Scarlet Barb, but actually coming through the Rounded Prairie. Right, let's press E to select this embark location. Now in here we are asked if we want to go with the pre-selection of items and jobs for the dwarves, or if we want to prepare carefully. If you go to this, prepare for the journey carefully, you have a whole other selection screen, which is very involved when you get to select all the items that you want to take with you, where the selections actually depends on what is available to your starting civilization. Also, what kind of pets do you want to bring along, and also you get to decide the skills of your 7 starting dwarves. There is also, because we are using the Lazy New pack, a number of different presets. I'm just gonna choose Play Now and go for the default, which, by the way, should include the essentials. Did I hit the key? Yeah, I did. You have arrived. After a journey from the mountain homes into the forbidden wilderness beyond, your harsh trek has finally ended. Your party of 7 is to make an outpost for the glory of all of Sakzul Zedot. There are almost no supplies left, but with stout labor comes sustenance. Whether by bolt, plow, or hook, provide for your dwarves. You are expecting a supply caravan just before winter entombs you. But it is spring now. Enough time to delve secure lodgings, ere the dingoes get hungry. A new chapter of Dwarven history begins here at this place, Mutkatakil. Mansion Pointy. Strike the earth. Mansion Pointy is actually a good name for a Dwarven fortress, because I think at this point we are pretty much obliged to build a pointy mansion. And finally, we should now get to the play screen. This is how the game actually looks like. Which is not true, by the way, because you also need a number of other tools to actually really play the game effectively. But this is the main play screen. This is, of course, a view of the map, and you might have already noticed that there's also dwarves in here, and also some animals. We have a little bit of a zoomed out map in here, but this is mostly useless, so I usually tab out of that and I keep only this little menu section in here. I know most of the keys by heart by now, but you can absolutely press question mark to have an introduction, even though looking at an in-depth tutorial might be better. I can use the keys to scroll around the map. Let's take a look. So we don't get any mountain slopes, but the transition between the prairie and the mountain zone is pretty noticeable because of the lack of vegetation. The brook comes through from the northeast. We get a little bit of mountain slopes in the east instead. Now, think of this as a top-down view, of course, but this is a horizontal slice. So what we are looking right now is the, let's say, current ground level. This is the slope of the mountain, and we cannot see in here because this is inside the mountain. If I hit either greater than or lower than keys, or also called, I think, triangular brackets, for example, I get to see one level higher. So now I get to see what the ground looks on top of this first shallow slope. I'm sorry, I'm rotating the mouse wheel by accident. I didn't mean to do that. So yeah, you can zoom a little bit. I will never find Oh, maybe I found the correct zoom once again. By sheer luck. If I go higher up, now I see the leaves of the trees. And now I'm up in the air and I can't see the ground anymore. Let's go back to ground level. As you might have guessed now, this brown circles are tree trunks. I'm debating with myself if I should call out all the key presses, but this would take ages, so just bear with me. I press the K key to look around, and now I've positioned the cursor on this tree trunk, and we can see that this is an apple tree trunk. And you can do this for everything. This is a willow. Around water, you usually find willows. Then what's this? More apples, chestnut, willow. Now, this is a brook. It means that the river is pretty shallow, so people can traverse it without problems. But we also have ponds that are actually one level deep, so they show differently, and you can see the number 7 in here on the blue background. It means that there is water, but the water is not in here. There is open space in here. I have to go down a step to look at the water. This is a murky pool of stagnant water, 7 out of 7 levels. And in here I can actually see also the level of the water for the river. So I guess this is a river with like enough stones that you can step on the stones and go through. But if you were to remove the stones, you would be left with a 7 deep water, which means the entire tile is filled with water. And we have quite a few of these ponds that could be used for fishing, for example. And this is it. And then we can look at our guys in here. Here we have Id Udilacrul, a jeweler. We can also, by pressing Z, look at his status, and by pressing Enter, we can look at their thoughts and preferences. And this is the full description of this dwarf in particular. He is thinking right now, there's nothing like a good brawl. And we already found the troublemaker of the company, apparently. So his name is Id Udilacrul. He's a dubious worshipper of Rurust Manasfog, the confusing guys. So our dwarves will have a whole pantheon to choose a deity from. And this guy is a worshipper, although dubious, of this Rurust Manasfog. He's a citizen of the Trumpet of Lobsters, of course, that's our civilization. And he's a member of the Order of Demons? He's a member of the Unseen Rack? Okay, he's a member of 2 different societies. Now, one of those 2 is ours. So we, as in this group of 7 dwarves, is either the Unseen Rack or the Order of Demons. Whatever the other might be is a mystery for now. And this guy, he is apparently declaring willy-nilly to be a part of a second organization. I hope we are the Order of Demons, because if we are the Unseen Rack, then we have a member of the Order of Demons in here. The names are procedurally generated, so they are a little bit random. However, the generator is weighted towards certain terms based on the nature of the thing. So yeah, the order of demons might stem out of, for example, the nature of the hierarchy in that organization. He arrived at Muthkatakil, which is this place, on the 15th of Granite in the year 250, which is right now. He's 69 years old, born in the 15th of Slate in the year 181. He has what was once a thin frame, now bearing enormous thick layers of fat. He's our Bumble, basically. His sideburns are clean-shaven though. His very long mustache is neatly combed. How neat! His very long beard is arranged in double braids. His long hair is arranged in double braids. He has very high cheekbones. He has a high voice. His slightly rounded raw amber eyes are slightly protruding. His ears are somewhat broad. His hair is amber. His skin is pink. We will see many similarities between the dwarves because things like color of the eyes, of the hair, the skin, and also the way they fashion their beards and hair is dictated, at least as a default, by the civilization they are from. He's very slow to tire, but he is flimsy. I like that he's enormous and fat, but he is flimsy, probably meaning he's not really strong. Very weak and really slow to heal. He likes mica, zinc, pipe opal, yak leather, greaves, bracelets, anvils, and the words of the meadow of glens, the sound of the lost shadow, and the sight of the taupe sparkles. When possible, he prefers to consume blood amaranth beer, and he absolutely detests cave spiders. And yes, all of these things matter. Then he has a bunch of different thought about, like, I don't know, great deal of respect for the law, which is good. Greatly prizes loyalty, but these are mostly default. Usually the ones that are strong are at the bottom. He personally doesn't care about nature one way or another. So the world might burn and he will be like, meh, I don't know. He dreams of raising a family. Good. It is strange that he doesn't say that he dreams of creating a great work of art. Usually, most dwarves do aspire to create some kind of masterwork. He does not find most jokes humorous. He dislikes helping others. Good. He has an overbearing personality. Good. He's swayed by emotional appeals. He's sloppy with his living space. Is this guy a fat bastard? He's stubborn. He doesn't mind a little tumult and discord. Well, of course, there's nothing like a good brawl. He takes offered help and gifts without feeling particularly grateful. What a great guy! He often acts with compassion. Okay, he has some redeeming qualities. He doesn't try to get things done perfectly, which is okay, I guess. He tends to be a bit stubborn in changing his mind about things. He tends to ask others for help with difficult decisions. He's not particularly interested in what others think of him. I might have thought so. He likes to brawl. He likes to brawl. He's flimsy, but he likes to brawl. I might eventually put him in the military. He generally acts with a narrow focus on the current activity, which is good for most things. He occasionally overindulges. Occasionally? Seriously, man. He's very humble. Okay, I'm starting to like this guy a little bit more. He needs alcohol to get through the working day. Every dwarf needs alcohol. He likes working outdoors and grumbles only mildly at inclement weather. And right now, he's a jeweler. Although, looking at the fact that he likes greaves and anvils, he might make also a nice smith. Now, we could look like this at every dwarf. I just wanted to show you that it is possible. We will do something better now. I will go back to the lazy new pack, and I will go to utilities and open a utility called Dwarf Therapist. It's in the other screen right now. I will try to drag it over and show it to you. This is Dwarf Therapist. This is by far one of the most useful tools to use together with Dwarf Fortress, because most of the UI is extremely convoluted and hard to work with. This little screen gives you a bird's-eye view of both the skills that the dwarves have and if the jobs relating to that skill are enabled or not. So, for example, we just looked at Id Udilacrul, right? Which is a jeweler, it said. It means that he has skills in gem cutting and gem setting, and there it is. Gem cutting and gem setting. He is level 1 in both of them. He is also, though, level 1 in bone carving, also level 1 in stone crafting and wood crafting. So right now he is our crafter slash artist guy. He will be, if we don't switch things around, he will be making the goods to sell, basically. Then what else we have? We have Itib Kotsazir, which has only one skill enabled. Now this, as you remember, as I said before, comes from the default profile. The default expedition profile sets dwarves to have this distribution of skills and labors, but you can change that if you want. And she is our fisher dwarf with a skill of 1. They all have some kind of basic labors enabled, like item hauling, food hauling, cleaning, construction, stuff like that, but you can also customize these. I want, for now, disable fishing and have a second miner, though, because right now we only have one miner, being Sodal Mendulid, but we will also have Itib switch from fishing to mining for now. So I clicked on here to deselect, clicked on here to select mining. I have to think of my changes, look them here. When it says pending changes, it says for Itib minus fishing plus mining, and then I can click on here on commit changes. This tool is writing directly in the memory spaces for Dwarf Fortress, basically. And if I now go back to Dwarf Fortress, I'm still paused, so nothing has changed right now, but as soon as I unpause, for now, the dwarves will all act according to their preferences. Let me show you. If I unpause, they are just darting around, probably chatting. Actually, let's see what they're doing. They have no job, so they're doing nothing. Probably just casual socializing going around. If I pause again. Now I can do my job. As a player of Dwarf Fortress, everything I do is setting up standing orders. So I give orders. For example, I can say with the designation to chop down trees. For this task, I like to use the mouse support because it's pretty good at doing specifically this. Let's say I want to use this area, which is already pretty clear. I want to remove this, and also these willows here for good measure. So I have now designated trees to be chopped, which means there are orders, there are things to do. I can now unpause, and the only dwarf that has a hatchet and has the lumberjacking job enabled has seen the order available, and he chose of his own volition that it was time to go and chop down trees. If he was instead really hungry or really sleepy, he might have just decided to eat something out of the wagon that we have in here, or